Now, it might be the silly season, but there's still a lot of news about. A new opposition leader in Victoria, Donald Trump, talks about buying Greenland, and all systems go for the Sydney fireworks after the transport unions threatened to derail the annual event. Joining me at the desk is former Howard Government Minister and Bondi Partner Senior Advisor Peter McGauran. Did you enjoy what I did there with the derail and the...
Yeah, no, it was a good segue.
Interesting, but let's start with Victoria. Brad Battin, Peter Dutton would be happy that the problems are settled.
Oh, it's his Christmas wish come true, Tim, because he cannot become Prime Minister without significant gains in Victoria. There's no doubt New South Wales and Victoria are the key to the next federal election. The opposition must win 4 or more seats in Victoria and about 10 in New South Wales to get towards that 18 to 21 margin they need. So the disunity, the disruption, the distraction, the internal dissent, all within the Victorian Liberal Party, seems to have been resolved.
Do we know much about Brad Battin? And Moira Deeming's back as well?
Yeah, well, Moira Deeming was the reason that John Pesutto self-immolated, and it's rare to see a leader of the opposition crash and burn on an issue that could have been solved at several points along the way. Brad Battin, yeah, he looks great, ex-policeman, ex-small businessman, been in Parliament 14 years, experienced, lives in the mortgage belt. He looks tailor-made.
Minutes from the December RBA meeting, weaker job figures, inflation dropping a little. Are we a bigger chance of seeing a rate cut in February?
Not necessarily, Tim, because the Reserve Bank's concerned, as you know, about underlying inflation, and here they look at the rise in cost of services and wages. So if full employment begins to ease and unemployment increases, well, wages pressures reduces, but not overnight. The Reserve Bank admits that the headline inflation rate is now within the band of 2 to 3% inflation, but the underlying inflation's 3.5%. So yes, they're just holding out the hope that eventually an increase in unemployment, can you believe it, will lead to possible interest rate decrease.
Yeah, the implications are huge, particularly politically. Transport unions, what have you made of this whole Sydney fiasco with the fireworks?
Well, they haven't covered themselves in glory. No doubt their family and friends got to them, but it's a big win for Chris Minns and the Labor government in New South Wales. But they've brought this on themselves. There was a 2.5% wage increase per annum cap for New South Wales public servants. It goes back to a previous Labor government, by the way. The Liberals didn't introduce it, they just maintained it. He abolished it. Then he gives the police 39% over 4 years, paramedics 29% over 4 years, hospital cleaners 9% in 1 year. So the train drivers thought they'd just joined the queue. But you can't compare apples and oranges, and the police savings, for instance, paid for that increase in wages. Paramedics were too low to start with. So they were greedy, the train drivers, their tactics were irresponsible, and they paid a very heavy public criticism for it.
All right, heading overseas, and quite the Christmas message from Donald Trump, buying Greenland from Denmark, taking back the Panama Canal, and issues with Canada. He even speculated about it becoming the 51st state.
Yeah, that's payback to Trudeau, who he despises, and Justin Trudeau lauded it over Trump, particularly when he left office. So that's just to needle Justin Trudeau, who's on his way out.
Well, he said Wayne Gretzky should be the ice hockey player.
Yes, you've got to admit there's some humour. But there's method to his madness on Greenland and Panama Canal. He feels that American shipping, particularly the American Navy, are paying too high a transit fee for the Panama Canal, given that Americans built it and paid for it, mind you, more than 100 years ago. But nonetheless, he carries these things around with him. So he's trying to bring down the cost to American shipping and worldwide shipping as a consequence. Greenland is strategically very important. The Americans have a huge air base there. They've had it since 1943. It's full of minerals and resources that could be tapped, but most importantly, the Chinese are very interested in Greenland because there's an increase in the North Atlantic shipping lanes, and it's a very geopolitically strategic point, Greenland. He's gone about it the wrong way, and presumably he doesn't expect to buy or invade Greenland, but he is signalling his interest in the area. So,
because they all want to have a relationship, they have to have a relationship. So this is all part of that too.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Tim. He softens people up. He doesn't believe in sending envoys or long dissertations. He wants action, and he does it by Twitter. So in 3 or 4 sentences, he can't quite explain the issues. He's just got to go for the punchline.
I wonder if he had the opportunity to sit down for Christmas lunch. Well, we thought 2024 was interesting. 2025 is going to be fascinating.
Correct.
This is the place to be. We've got the local election, Donald Trump's inauguration. It's going to be huge. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Peter.